fundamental misunderstanding about avoidant attachment lies in the assumption that emotional distance equals emotional independence. While avoidant individuals present as self-sufficient and emotionally detached, their behavior patterns reveal profound neediness that's simply expressed through different mechanisms than traditional attachment behaviors. Their avoidance isn't evidence of not needing others. It's a complex strategy for getting needs met while protecting against the vulnerability that direct need expression requires. The illusion of independence. Avoidant individuals have mastered the art of appearing emotionally self-sufficient while actually being deeply dependent on others for emotional regulation and validation. Their independence is largely performative, designed to create the impression that they don't require emotional support or connection. However, this performance requires constant external validation to maintain, making them paradoxically dependent on others to confirm their independence. This illusory independence manifests in various ways that actually reveal underlying neediness. They may boast about not needing anyone, yet consistently seek relationships that provide emotional comfort without requiring reciprocal emotional investment. They present as emotionally strong while relying on partners to manage the emotional labor in relationships, effectively outsourcing their emotional needs while maintaining the facade of self-sufficiency. Their independence also requires others to accommodate their emotional limitations. They need partners who will accept minimal emotional availability, tolerate inconsistent behavior, and provide emotional support without expecting similar treatment in return. This accommodation requirement reveals that their independence is conditional on others, adapting to their emotional constraints, rather than representing true self-sufficiency. The maintenance of this independence illusion also requires constant validation from others that their emotional distance is acceptable or even admirable. They often seek partners who praise their independence or express admiration for their emotional strength, revealing their need for external confirmation of their self-image as emotionally autonomous individuals. Covert emotional dependency. Avoidant individuals often develop sophisticated systems of covert emotional dependency that allow them to receive emotional support while maintaining their self-image as independent. They may rely heavily on specific people for emotional regulation, while convincing themselves and others that these relationships are casual or unimportant. This covert dependency often involves using others as emotional resources without acknowledging the depth of their reliance. This hidden dependency frequently manifests through strategic emotional unavailability that actually increases others' emotional investment. By being intermittently available and consistently withholding full emotional presence, they create dynamics where partners become more invested in earning their attention and affection. This increased investment from others provides them with emotional security while allowing them to maintain their independence narrative. Their covert dependency also appears in their tendency to maintain multiple, shallow relationships rather than investing in deep connections. They spread their emotional needs across various relationships to avoid becoming too dependent on any single person. But this pattern actually reveals their significant need for emotional input from others. They require multiple sources of validation and support to feel emotionally stable. Most tellingly, avoidant individuals often become extremely distressed when their covert emotional dependencies are threatened. If someone they've been relying on for emotional support begins to withdraw or set boundaries, they may react with surprising intensity while still denying the importance of the relationship. This reaction reveals the depth of their hidden emotional dependency. Need for control as neediness. The avoidant individual's need to control relationship dynamics represents one of their most significant expressions of neediness. Their requirement to dictate the terms of emotional engagement, determine the pace of intimacy, and maintain ultimate power over relationship progression reveals profound insecurity about their ability to handle relationships on equal terms. This control need stems from deep fears about emotional vulnerability and abandonment. This control neediness manifests as an inability to tolerate relationships where they're not the emotionally distant one. They often struggle significantly when paired with partners who are also emotionally unavailable because they need someone to be pursuing them to feel secure. Their comfort depends on being the one who's being sought after rather than doing the seeking, revealing their need for constant reassurance of their desirability. Their control requirements also extend to needing others to accommodate their emotional limitations without complaint. They require partners who will accept their minimal emotional availability, work around their intimacy fears, and adapt to their relationship style without demanding change. This need for accommodation reveals their inability to engage in truly reciprocal relationships where both partners' needs matter equally. The intensity with which they defend their control also reveals the depth of their neediness. When their control over relationship dynamics is challenged, they often react with disproportionate anxiety or anger, demonstrating how essential this control is to their emotional stability. Their need to maintain power over relationships actually indicates their powerlessness to engage authentically. Validation seeking through rejection. Avoidant individuals often display a paradoxical pattern of seeking validation through the very rejection behaviors that appear to push others away. They need to know that others want them enough to tolerate their emotional unavailability, pursue them despite their withdrawal, and continue investing even when receiving minimal return. This dynamic provides them with constant validation of their worth without requiring reciprocal emotional investment. This validation seeking appears in their tendency to test relationships through emotional withdrawal and inconsistent behavior. They need to confirm that others will continue pursuing them even when they provide little emotional reward. The persistence of others in the face of their avoidance serves as evidence of their value and desirability, fulfilling deep needs for validation while maintaining emotional distance. Their need for this specific type of validation, being wanted despite being emotionally unavailable, reveals profound insecurity about their lovability. They don't believe they would be valued if they showed up authentically in relationships, so they need constant proof that they're desirable even when offering minimal emotional presence. This pattern demonstrates significant neediness disguised as emotional strength. The validation they seek through rejection also serves their need to feel special or unique. Being pursued despite their emotional unavailability allows them to maintain the narrative that they're worth extraordinary effort from others. This need to feel exceptional rather than simply lovable reveals deep insecurity about their inherent worth in relationships. Emotional labor dependencies. Despite their appearance of emotional self-sufficiency, avoidant individuals often depend heavily on others to perform emotional labor in their relationships. They rely on partners to initiate difficult conversations, manage relationship conflicts, and maintain emotional connection while contributing minimal emotional effort themselves. This dependency on others' emotional work reveals their inability to truly function independently in intimate relationships. Their emotional labor dependency extends to needing others to interpret and respond to their unspoken needs. Since they struggle to communicate emotional needs directly, they require partners who can read subtle cues, anticipate their requirements, and provide support without explicit requests. This dependency on others' emotional intuition demonstrates their significant need for care and attention. They also often depend on others to maintain relationship stability and continuity. While they may withdraw or become inconsistent, they rely on their partners to preserve the relationship through these difficult periods. Their ability to behave inconsistently without losing relationships depends entirely on others' willingness to provide emotional consistency in their absence. Most significantly, they often need others to take responsibility for relationship problems and solutions. By positioning themselves as emotionally unavailable, They effectively transfer responsibility for relationship health to their partners while still benefiting from relationship security. This transfer of responsibility represents a profound dependency on others' emotional caretaking, attention, and validation requirements. Avoidant individuals often have significant, though hidden, requirements for attention and validation that contradict their image of emotional independence. They frequently need to know that others are thinking about them, missing them during their withdrawal periods, and remaining emotionally invested despite their minimal availability. This need for ongoing attention reveals deep insecurity about their place in others' lives. Their validation requirements often appear through subtle monitoring of others' emotional investment. They may pay close attention to how quickly others respond to their communications, how much effort others put into maintaining contact, and how others react to their emotional distance. This monitoring reveals their need for constant reassurance about their importance to others. They also often require validation of their emotional unavailability as a positive trait. They need others to admire their independence, respect their need for space, and view their emotional distance as strength rather than limitation. This need for others to positively frame their avoidant behaviors reveals their dependency on external validation of their relationship style. The intensity of their reaction when they don't receive expected attention or validation also reveals the depth of these needs. They may become surprisingly upset when others don't pursue them during withdrawal periods or fail to provide the admiration they expect for their independence. These reactions demonstrate how much they actually depend on others' emotional responses. Fear-based neediness. Much of avoidant neediness stems from deep fears about abandonment, rejection, and emotional overwhelm that create significant dependency on others' behavior and responses. They need others to behave in predictable ways that don't trigger their intimacy fears while still providing emotional security. This requirement for others to manage their emotional triggers represents profound neediness disguised as boundary setting. Their fear-based neediness appears in their requirement for relationships that feel emotionally safe and controllable. They need partners who won't push for too much intimacy too quickly, won't become too emotionally demanding, and won't threaten their sense of autonomy. This need for others to accommodate their fears reveals their inability to manage relationships that require emotional flexibility. They also often need constant reassurance that others won't leave them, despite their emotional unavailability. While they may not express this need directly, their behavior patterns often seek to confirm that others are committed to staying, regardless of how little emotional investment they provide. This hidden need for abandonment reassurance drives much of their relationship behavior. Their fear-based neediness also includes needing others to prove their love without requiring proof in return. They need to know that others are committed and invested while maintaining the option to withdraw without consequence. This asymmetrical need for commitment reveals deep insecurity about their ability to maintain relationships through reciprocal investment. The paradox of needing not to need. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of avoidant neediness is their profound need to be seen as not needy. They require constant confirmation from themselves and others that they don't require emotional support, connection, or validation. This need to maintain a non-needy identity becomes one of their most significant and demanding requirements, creating elaborate systems of self-deception and impression management. This paradoxical neediness manifests as requiring others to acknowledge and accommodate their independence while actually being dependent on others' accommodation. They need partners who will admire their self-sufficiency while providing the emotional support that makes their apparent independence possible. This contradiction reveals the performative nature of their emotional autonomy. Their need to avoid appearing needy also creates dependency on maintaining emotional distance even when they might desire closeness. They become trapped by their own image management requirements, needing to reject intimacy to maintain their identity as independent individuals. This self-imposed limitation reveals how their neediness actually controls their behavior more than genuine emotional autonomy would. The energy required to maintain their non-needy persona also reveals the extent of their actual neediness. They invest enormous emotional resources in appearing self-sufficient, monitoring their behavior for signs of dependency, and managing others' perceptions of their emotional needs. This constant effort demonstrates how much they actually need others to see them as not needing others. Neediness for emotional safety, without reciprocity. Avoidant individuals often have intense needs for emotional safety in relationships, while being unwilling or unable to provide similar safety for their partners. They require relationships that feel predictable and non-threatening, while maintaining the right to be unpredictable themselves. This asymmetrical need for safety reveals their profound emotional vulnerability, disguised as strength. Their safety neediness appears in their requirement for partners who won't become too emotionally demanding or intense. They need relationships that feel manageable and controllable, while often creating anxiety and instability for their partners. This need for one-sided emotional safety demonstrates their inability to handle the mutual vulnerability that healthy relationships require. They also often need constant reassurance that their emotional limitations will be accepted and accommodated. They require partners who won't pressure them for greater intimacy or consistency while providing emotional security themselves. This need for unconditional acceptance without reciprocal tolerance reveals the depth of their emotional dependency. Their safety requirements also include needing to maintain escape routes from emotional intimacy. They often need to know they can withdraw without consequence and return without explanation. This need for guaranteed emotional exit strategies reveals their underlying terror of emotional entrapment and their dependency on others to provide security without commitment. The hidden dependency on pursuing partners. Despite their apparent discomfort with emotional pursuit, avoidant individuals often become deeply dependent on partners who pursue them emotionally. They rely on others' emotional investment to provide relationship stability and continuity while contributing minimal effort themselves. This dependency on others' pursuit reveals their inability to maintain relationships through their own emotional investment. Their dependency on pursuing partners also provides them with constant validation and reassurance without requiring reciprocal emotional risk. They need others to demonstrate ongoing interest and commitment while maintaining the safety of emotional distance themselves. This asymmetrical dynamic reveals their significant need for reassurance about their lovability. When their pursuing partners begin to withdraw or lose interest, avoidant individuals often experience significant distress that contradicts their stated preferences for emotional distance. They may attempt to re-engage the pursuit through increased attention or emotional availability, revealing how much they actually depend on others' emotional investment for their own stability. The panic that many avoidant individuals experience when faced with genuine abandonment reveals the depth of their hidden dependency on others' emotional pursuit. Despite claiming to prefer independence, they often become desperate to maintain relationships when their partners actually begin to detach, demonstrating how much they need others' emotional investment even while appearing to reject it. Understanding avoidant neediness requires looking beyond their surface behavior to recognize the complex dependency systems they create to meet emotional needs while protecting against vulnerability. Their neediness is no less intense than other attachment styles. It's simply expressed through indirect means that maintain their self-image as emotionally independent. Recognizing this hidden neediness helps explain why relationships with avoidant individuals often feel emotionally demanding despite their apparent emotional distance, and why their independence is often more performance than reality.